Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome to Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center, PJTC for short. I am delighted to be here this weekend. Surprise! There are emails going around, and you'll understand everything. But for right now, we are going to begin our celebration of Shabbat, and we're glad to have you here with us to do this. What is it, like 3 weeks left till Pesach, something like that?
Yep.
If that, maybe 2 weeks, we'll see. I'll say a little bit more about Pesach later. In case you didn't know, Pesach is coming. But for right now, let's dwell in receiving Shabbat. And in just a moment, we're going to start on page 13 in these hardcover books. If you're joining us for the first time in a while, you should also know we have some softcover books back there that have transliterations of the Hebrew prayers in addition to translations. And that means it's, the Hebrew sounds and English-looking letters, so some people find that easier to follow along with. But here in this book, we're going to start on page 13 because there's a song that reminds us that when Shabbat begins, it's as if angels have arrived at our house. And so once they knock, we let them in, and we ask them to come on in, and we ask them to bless us. And when it's time for them to go, just like eventually Shabbat must go on its way, we see them out with honor. And so what do we say to them when they get here? Shalom Aleichem, and that's on page 13. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barhuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ya ra 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 ra, ya ra Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei HaMlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. And just as the song grows in our hearts, so does light grow in our homes and in our holy spaces. And we have the Shabbat candles over here, but they haven't had a blessing said yet. So I'm going to call up whoever would like to come from the Zeeler family to say the blessing over the Shabbat candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav b'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Well done. Now we begin to, are we going to Yedid Nefesh?
Shabbos.
There is a traditional tune, traditional in many places, maybe not so much here, but as one of my teachers said, every tradition is an innovation that made it. There's a beautiful song called Yedid Nefesh that's on page 14, and there is a newer tune to these old classic words that we've been working on here, and you may have heard it in the beginning of the service, and let's give it a try.
So this poem on the page has many, many verses. Today we will solidify the learning of this new melody that I'm bringing here, and we will just focus on the first verse. So, first of all, Martin, hold on the slideshow just for a moment. This is new, so don't panic. It's okay. We'll learn the melody first, then we'll add the words. So for the melody, you don't need the prayer book. So I want you to just hold it, put it aside for a moment, and just follow me in getting a little more in the groove of this poem that we'll touch base in a moment. The first part, the part that I want you to focus on goes like this. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai. Don't panic. I'm going to break it down. First part. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai. Try that. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai. One more time. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai. One more last time. Yai lai lai lai, lai lai lai. Then yai lai lai, yai lai lai. Just those two. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai again. Yai lai lai, more time. Ya Eli, from the beginning. Please tell me you didn't forget it. Ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli. One more time. Great job. Ya Eli, 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 ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli. Great. And then the end. Ya Eli, 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 ya, ya. Ya Eli, 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 ya, ya. Ya Eli, 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 ya, ya. One more time. Ya Eli, 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 ya, Eli. We're going to put it all together. Ya Eli, 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 ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya, ya, ya Eli, 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 ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya. One last time. Ya Eli, 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 ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya, ya. What does this feel like? What does the melody feel like? Ya Eli, Eli, a lot of ya Eli, Eli. That's the good part of the part that we don't have to think about it. It just comes out. What does the melody make you feel like? A dance? Good. What else? Swinging. Letting the melody kind of sort of take you in this dance. Great. Please rise. Stand up. I won't bite. Promise. I shouldn't have said that. Okay, now let's look at each other and just let the melody lead you. We're going to practice for a little bit this. Ya Eli, 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 ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli. Come on. Ya Eli, Eli, come closer. Ya Eli, Eli, ya, ya. Again. Ya Eli, 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 ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya, ya. I want to hear you. Ya Eli. Ya Eli, ya Eli, ya Eli, ya Eli, Eli, one last time. Ya Eli, 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 ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, oh. You know, I'm gonna need the words. If you look at the words projected here, you will not only find the first verse that you already have in your Sidurim, but in this case, the bold portions of the transliteration are your accents. You do not need to learn it. I will guide you, and when we're done with that, we'll go back to the part that we just learned. Let's take it from the beginning. Ya Eli, 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 ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, one more time. Ya Eli, 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 ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya Eli, Eli, ya, ya. Goes like this. Yedit nefesh avarach meshuch avdach el retzonach yarutz avdach kemo ayalishta chave mul adarach, yerav lo yedidutach minof etzuf bechol ta'am Get ready together. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai ya. Again. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai. Yai lai lai lai, yai yai. I want all of you to take a step, 5 steps closer this way. Come on, just come closer. And you guys 5 steps closer this way. And we're gonna do it a cappella, so we're gonna hear one another. It's okay, you'll survive, I promise, I promise. It'll be just fine. No, you sing. We need, this is a love song. Look at the words for a moment. Lover of my soul, merciful God, bring your servant, meaning us, close to your will. We, your servant, will return like a gazelle. See, it's a love song. I want you to think of this relationship that we are entering in today on Shabbat as a relationship of love between us and God. That's what we use Shabbat for, to sit back, relax, love, feel good, rest. So, yai lai lai together. 1, 2, 3. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai. Follow me again. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai. One last time. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai. Do you know what this rib cage is for? To breathe. Now I want you to breathe really, really deeply and sing with me really, really loud. Yes, just like that. 1, 2, 3. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. One more time, even louder. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. One last time, but this time I want you to hold it. My hands will tell you when to hold it. 1, 2, 3. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai. Get ready. Yai lai lai. Good. Yai lai lai lai, yai la, very softly. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai yai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai yoi, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Take a deep breath. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai yai. Shabbat shalom.
You can be seated if you like. I know we're not supposed to work on Shabbat, but y'all sounded like a bunch of pros just there. Did you hear that? Who knew that song before you came in this room tonight? A couple of people you're our ringers who come on for a wonderful Shirah program on Sunday where we practice these things. And if you'd like to feel like a ringer on Saturdays and Friday nights, make sure you check out Cantor Ruth's wonderful Shirah class that's at noon every Sunday that there's religious school. But most of you didn't. Most of you heard that song for the first time tonight. Did you notice how great you sounded? Because I did. And that's what Shabbat can sound like when you come in here and embrace not only the spirit of Shabbat, but the spirit of community, and just let yourselves be. And it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that's what this part of the service, Kabbalat Shabbat, is about. It's about getting out of the work week up into the holiness of Shabbat by means of song. And so we've had songs like Yedid Nefesh, which is from the 16th century. Sometimes we do psalms. Right now we're going to go to another song of, I believe, the 16th century from the Kabbalists of Sfat, where Isaac Luria and his companions imagined Shabbat descending on Tzfat with the majesty of royalty visiting the town. But that felt a little formal in all of its transcendence. So they said, well, what if it's royalty, but it's also like you're standing under the huppah and you're waiting for your beloved to walk down the aisle and join you? And so they came up with this poem called Lecha Dodi, and they use the language of the bride and the language of the queen, but in both cases, they say to Shabbat, come, my beloved, Lecha Dodi. And we're going to start on page 22, page 22.
Lecha Dodi, top of the page.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat, nekabela. תבושי ולא תקמי, מה תשכחי ומה תמי. רק יחסו עניי הימי ונבנתה עיר על תילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Ve'olim limshiso shosaich ve'rachaku kol mevalaich. Yasis alaich Elohaich kimsos chatan al kala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תריצי. על יד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת ועלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. 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 You may be seated if you wish. We conclude our Kabbalat Shabbat on page 23, with a special psalm just for Shabbat. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי אסון ועלי נבל, עלי גיון וכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידך, במעשה ידך ארנן. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, ועוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מה גדלו מעשיך
אדוני ולמקומות שמותיך יא אלי אלי מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך
Well, good Shabbos, everybody. If you're just joining us, welcome to Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. We are delighted to have you here with us to celebrate Shabbat. I may have said that before, but it bears repeating. Shabbat Shalom. Speaking of things that bear repeating, I would like to give you something to do this Shabbat. I didn't say homework. I didn't say a job, because it's Shabbos. And in this Parsha is actually where we learn about all the things you're not supposed to do on Shabbat, because this is the beginning of Parshat, well, this is Parshat Vayakel Bekude. We shmush them together because it's not a leap year. If you want to know what that would mean by leap year, take my Introduction to Judaism class. I see many of the many graduates here and alumni. But in this beginning of Vayakel, it lists out all the work that we undertake when building the Mishkan, when building the tabernacle, the portable sanctuary that God has enjoined us to take with us on our journeys so that God can dwell among us. And at the end of last week's Parsha, it mentioned that on Shabbat you should do no manner of creative work, nothing you would call a malacha, which means creative work, things that add to the world or take away from the world. And then, immediately in this Parsha, it says, here are all the malacha, here are all the creative things that we did to build the Mishkan. And from there we learn that these kinds of creative things are the things we don't do on Shabbat. That's why I'm not giving you homework, but I am suggesting an activity. And that is to tell stories. Insofar as you have the opportunity to gather with other people, and insofar as Shabbat invites us to take time away from creative work, I encourage you to tell your favorite stories, even if they've heard them before. Thank you. Especially if they've heard them before. This week, Cantor, and I'm sorry I mentioned Pesach earlier, I get shpilkas too. Cantor, Ruth, and I were sitting down and we were planning out our wonderful tradition here at PJTC of having a second night Seder as a community. And we have to go through the whole program and agree on the page numbers and the tunes and things like that. And I asked the cantor, is it okay if I tell a joke during the Seder? Does anybody here ever tell a joke during the Seder? Have you told a joke during the Seder? Have you told a joke during the Seder? Let me ask you something. Do you tell a new joke every year? You tell the same joke every year? You just ruined my whole sermon. Just kidding. I said, Cantor Ruth, would it be okay? Because I don't know if I've told this joke at PJTC before. And I say that in front of my intro students who've heard all my jokes at least 3 times. There's a joke that I would like to tell during the Pesach Seder. which means I'm not going to tell it right now. This is what we call building anticipation and encouraging people to sign up for the Pesach Seder when it comes about. Because I'm going to tell my all-time favorite Passover joke. Does your Passover joke include Queen Elizabeth II, Aloha Shalom? Okay then, mine does. So if you're already missing, I don't know, it's too soon. If you're already missing Queen Elizabeth II, make sure you sign up for our second night Seder here at BJTC. And the reason I tell this same joke every year, and as I've said to my bar mitzvah students, if I make the same joke more than once, it's not tiresome, it's a tradition, is because it's in honor of, well, I won't say his name because my Lashon Hara class is here too. So there's this guy who, when I was first learning what Seders were, I would go to the Seder, and he would tell the same joke every year. And now, in his honor, I tell the same joke every year. Well, maybe not exactly the same. Maybe you do you build it up a little bit? Do people look at their watches and say, okay, this is 30 seconds longer than last year? Somebody write this down. It depends who's there. Depends on, is the brisket done yet or not? I don't know. Just stretch it out. Because there are things in our life that are worth repeating, even if they become tiresome, especially if they make the kids' eyes roll a little bit. And we didn't invent this, my friend and I, because there's this midrash on Parashat Vayakel. Again, we're kind of winding down the book of Exodus. Next week, it's Leviticus and rules, right? But there's this question that gets asked because Vayakel is very repetitive. You might even say redundant, when it lists out all of the different activities for building this holy tabernacle that we're talking about. Because we've already heard all this before. This is, a couple parshas ago, God said, make a sanctuary so that I can dwell among you. And then lists all the construction materials, and it's nice, right? There's gold and tapestries and acacia wood and unicorn skins. If you don't believe me, ask me, that's a different midrash. And it lists all the work of the Mishkan exhaustively. And then we have this thing with the golden cow. I'm actually kind of glad I wasn't here for that one. But then in Vayakel, it repeats meticulously the instruction of how to build it. And our sages who believed in their hermeneutical heart of hearts that nothing in the Torah is wasted, asked the question, why did they repeat the instructions of the Mishkan in such great detail? And the answer they gave, an answer, I should say, if you've met rabbis, there's more than one, is that God just loved this whole idea so much. Right? As much as God was annoyed, if that's kind of a mild word for the whole golden calf thing, God was really excited to be with us. God's like, finally, I can get off the mountain. Finally, I've got people who approach me not as a statue, but by calling me beloved. Finally, I get to walk with them. And God was so excited by this idea that God told us not only once how to build the Mishkan, but then told us all over again. It's that repetition that bonds are made of. And so my encouragement for you is to take time this Shabbat to find the people who already know you love them, and tell them again. Find the people that you share your most important stories with and tell those stories again. Keep annoying your children. And children, keep rolling your eyes at us. Because I promise you, there will be days in your future where you will miss our telling those stories. And some, don't be afraid to tell the same joke again on Passover or any other time. Never be afraid to tell your beloved you love them more than once. Telling stories twice and thrice and over again, that's how memories are made. That's how traditions are born. And that is how our legacies endure. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for being with us here at PJTC once again. We'll hold questions at the end of service. That better be a really good joke at Pesach at this point. I've really kind of sold it. So right now, I'm going to have our friend Sadie Moss up here to join us. Isn't anybody else? Sadie, anybody else?
No,
You got
we
this?
take turns.
Okay, wonderful. So she's going to be leading us as we begin the Ma'ariv service with our call to blessing, the Barhu on page 28. Page 28. It's our custom to rise in body or spirit.
Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Amborach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Leolam Melech Hashem B'Maravim B'Maravim.
Uma'avir yom umevi laila. Umavdil ben yom uve laila. Adonai tziva'ot shemo. El chai v'kayom tamid yimloch aleinu leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Baruch Shemo.
Hama'ariv aravim.
Amen. Good job.
Shkoyach. You may be seated as we continue with the blessing for the constancy of God's love. Ahavat Olam on page 29. Page 29.
She's next. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim אותנו לימדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו ושוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה נגה יומם ולילה ואהבתך עלתה
את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתן לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך ביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לעוד על ידיך, והיו לטפטפות בין עיניך, וקשרתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
You continue at your own pace in the middle of page 30. We'll get back together in just a moment. We continue at the top of page 31 with Juliet leading us.
Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber el bnei Yisrael, v'armata alehem, v'asu lachem tzitzit, al kanfei bigdehem ledoratam, v'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf betil techelet, v'chaya lachem letzitzit, uritem oto, uzchartem et kol mitzvot Adonai, v'asitem etam, v'lo taturu achrei levavchem, v'achrei nechem, asher atem zonim achreichem, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם. אמן.
We continue on page 32. Page 32.
Let's join in the middle of the page. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, וכהיום לפני משה ומרים. זה לי, אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo.
Gal Yisrael.
Amen. We continue with Hashkivenu on page 33.
The bottom. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ushmor tzeiteinu uboeinu lechaim ולשלום ואתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. שלום, 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 שלום. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו.
הפורש סוכות שלום עלינו, ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ועל ירושלים.
Page 34, page 34.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. אוי 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 ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
בעלמא דברה קירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בעגלה, בעגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו, יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך, יתברך, וישתבח, ויתפאר, ויתרומם, ויתנשא, ויתהדר, ויתעלה, ויתהלל, שמי דקדושה, לעילה, מן כל ברכתה, ושירתה, Tushbecha tavenecha mata da'ami iran belma vimeru.
We rise for the Amidah for Shabbat evening, which you can find the words of our tradition on page 35b, or pray in whatever words are in your heart. This is a private prayer. When you're finished with your own prayer, you may be seated, and we'll all get back together in just a little while. We conclude the Amidah with Kaddish Shalem on page 48. Page 48. יתגדל ויקרא שמי רבה.
אמן.
במה דיברה קראתי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובימכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בעגלה בזמן קריב אמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה.
יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה. בריחו לעילא מכל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. תקבל צות הון ובעל הון דכל ישראל קודם ובהון דבשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו Amen. We begin to end our service with Aleinu on page 51. Please rise however you are able and join us in Aleinu on page 51.
עלינו לשבח לדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. על כן נקווה לך אדוני אלוהינו לראות פניו ותפארת עוזך. כי המלכות שלך היא, ולעולמיה תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב את תורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה
You may be seated. You know how I know when people are enjoying singing together? Even Aleinu sounds better. I can feel it in the room. We move from Simcha to Kavod because before the conclusion of every service, we pause to remember with honor those who are no longer with us. Here at PJTC this week, we're marking the Yart site, and that is the anniversaries of the passing of Golda Engel, Batya Berlant, Sarah Bernstein, Zoya Baz, Louis Brown, Denny Browning, Emma Cohen, Edward Collins III, Carly Ellinger, Mae Fisher, Ann Furman, Zev Gabriel, Charles Gabriel, John Gallagher, Ira Green, Mikla Grumman, Pessa Grumman, Wolf Grumman, Betty Grumman, Jacob Grumman, Doris Grumman, and Joseph Grumman, Nathan Jaffe, Harry Kaplan, Abraham Katzman, Sylvan Kellen, Irving Kligfeld, Max Nell, Sonia Krishka, Shirley LePuck Lane, Aaron Lash, Stephen Levine, Yankel Moshe Osorowski, Charles Oster, Julia Pankratz, Esther Popek, Alan Prezant, Benjamin Saperstein, Isaac Schiffer, Esther Schuster, Ben Burt Schwartz, Sam Sagan, Abraham Shapiro, Yetta Siegel, Betty Sonas, Shiraga Tenenbaum, Monica Tobias, Sidney Topol, Regina Weiss, Shrakola Unice, Morris Zelinka, and Leah Zyman. If you have another name that you'd like to lift up in honor at this time, I invite you to hold that name in your heart or say it out loud wherever you are. And if you are in mourning for anyone or marking a yard site, I ask you to please rise so that we could pray with you. And we'll all join in the Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 52. Page 52. Let's pray together. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ba'alma divra kirute v'amlich malchute b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam l'olmei elma yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei dekudsha v'richu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Now I'll ask everyone to rise as we conclude.
We're going to conclude in song as we usually do. You're not going to need your prayer books, but I want to thank the upcoming B'nai Mitzvah students who came today to Shabbat services and to join us in leading services as you guys get ready. It's wonderful to have you. Looking forward to having you more and more and more. And as we conclude with this song, we will walk together to do Kiddush, so feel free to put your Sidurim away and close your eyes. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai. Try that again. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Now close your eyes and follow me. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Again. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai. It changes a little bit. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. And together. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Shabbat shalom. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai.
Good Shabbos, everybody. We'll meet you back there.
Yai lai lai lai. One more time. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Let's join for Kiddush.
Good Shabbos, everybody.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's join together for Kiddush. Grape juice, Abby, grape juice, Sadie. I don't know. I think this is grape juice. Giddy, you want some juice or wine? Juice is that. Judy has juice. Yeah. Hi. Shabbat Shalom. Happy to have you. What did you do with your nails? Wonderful. Are we guys ready? You have? Shoot. Okay, good. Let's join together. ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ, וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי, מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. Together, ברוך נותן אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנקי לנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת עם כל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים.
All right, those at home who wish to wash, wash as you wish. And we'll do a little netilat yadayim for everybody here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim.
Amen. And Shabbos. Together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, המוציא לחם מן הארץ בתאוות. Shabbat Shalom. Take one and pass it along. See you tomorrow morning. Shabbat Shalom.
Good Shabbos, everybody.